But it's close. I think it was split, me to last place was split between 2 tenths. So if I made a little mistake, I'm last place. So it's just very close for the midfield.
The first 2 races are already behind us, and if there is one thing that we've learned from them, it's that Norris made a huge mistake a couple of years ago. He had amazing opportunities that he unfortunately missed due to his commitment and loyalty to McLaren, but now that isn't paying off a bit, and Norris will likely experience some difficult choices in the upcoming period. Although he is currently wasting his career at McLaren, the future may not be so dark after all, given the talent that Norris has and the openings that one of the biggest teams in the sport will have in the following years. Norris has been a pivotal part of McLaren's comeback after their horrible time with Honda, and ever since he signed the contract in 2019, it's been evident that he's poised for big results.
Here's Lando Norris on Fernando Alonso. The Alpine doesn't seem to have the pace that many were expecting against the McLarens today, and well, Lando Norris has put his pace to good use to pick up a place there and up into 7th now.
At that time, he was portrayed as the team's leading force in bringing them back to the top, and in 2020, when the team finished 3rd in the Constructors' Championship, the F1 world was truly on board the McLaren hype train that was led by Norris, Sainz and Zak Brown. But ever since Sainz joined Ferrari, a decision that was rather questionable back then because Ferrari was the team that finished P6 in the Constructors' Championship, the downhill of McLaren started, and all of a sudden the smooth operator was praised for the move to Ferrari. Norris and Ricciardo had a troublesome 2021 season, especially in the second half of it, where Ricciardo was able to win 1 race and lead Norris to a dominating 1-2 finish, and Norris was able to win the pole position in Russia and almost win the race hadn't the rain happened. Still, McLaren lost the battle to Ferrari, and from that point on, everything started to downshift pretty fast, with Norris and Ricciardo having one of the worst seasons of their careers at that point in 2022. McLaren lost their step massively, not only to Ferrari but to Alpine as well, with the Enston-based team managing to put themselves out there as the best of the rest. So, even though the team thought it was Ricciardo who carried all of the blame and non-success for the team, now they're being proven wrong by Piastri's performance as well. Oscar Piastri has been brought in as a replacement for Daniel Ricciardo in a very intriguing and controversial manner, and with him winning the F3 and F2 championships, hope and talent are definitely written all over his name. Not to take anything away from the youngster, he's doing the best he can with the MCL 60 after taking it to Q3 on Saturday's session in Jeddah, but when it comes to race pace, McLaren is just nowhere to be found. Norris, the driver who's supposed to win races as projected back in 2020, is now not even able to exit Q1 and push through the field to score points. After the first 2 races of the season, one thing is evident. Norris made a huge mistake by not joining Red Bull when he had the chance to on 2 separate occasions. Even though the first one wasn't as judgmental as the latter one, with it happening all the way back in 2018 when Norris opted out for McLaren, the second one happened in 2021 when Red Bull offered him a deal to replace Alex Albon. At that time, McLaren was the team behind Red Bull, so Norris bought into the long-term project of the team and decided to continue the collaboration for another 3 seasons, with his contract ending at the end of the 2025 season. Automotor und Sport revealed that Norris spoke to other teams, and now that the situation has developed the way it did for McLaren in the previous 2 seasons, it's evident that Norris is likely wanting to revert the clock and let the time bring him back to 2021 when he had the opportunity to pair up with Verstappen. One thing that he definitely doesn't like is the fact that Andreas Seidel, the former team boss of McLaren, has left the team a couple of weeks after saying that he's committed to the long-term project of the team and that they're supposed to build a race-winning car by the end of the 2024 season. After he left, Andrea Stella took the wheel, and the issues started ever since the car was brought to light, with Stella saying that the design from their side has been understood as utterly wrong, as they tried to blame the 2023 regulations and the uncertainty revolving around them. Now, even though McLaren do have some bright spots to look ahead to, such as the 4th race of the calendar in Baku, when they're supposed to bring some strong upgrades to the MCL 60, as well as the upcoming season when the team is about to harvest the goods of their new wind tunnel, Norris's patience has likely worn off. Piastri entered Q3 in Jeddah, and Norris's mistake cost him so much that he dropped off in Q1, but the reality is as it is. Both MCL 60s do not have the pace in them to fight the midfield teams, let alone the top dogs, and to try to snatch a podium finish like Norris did last year in Imola.
Lando Norris on the podium.
superb, absolutely superb. Through the Ravazza, he heads up to the line. He'll be very happy with that. That will motivate everyone at McLaren.
Piastri did receive a small damage to the front wing, something that forced him to pit, but when he was put back with the Alpha Tauri and Williams cars, it was evident that this is exactly where McLaren belongs at this point of the season. So, what's next for Norris? Obviously, he made a huge mistake by missing the opportunity to sign with Red Bull, as one of the reasons that he signed the McLaren contract was that he had security guaranteed with it. There are so many things that need to be changed at McLaren, starting with the leadership of Zak Brown and ending with the entire structure of their car, something that has probably driven off one of the strongest forces in the team, Andreas Seidel. Norris may wait for McLaren to be competitive yet again, something that he reckoned would take at least 1 or 2 seasons, as he warned the team that if they're not able to win races by 2025, then there are no excuses and he will likely seek a way outside of the team. There are 3 teams that would be more than happy to offer Norris what he's looking for, with one of them being Red Bull yet again. As we've seen in the latest race in Jeddah, the tensions between Verstappen and Perez are not all the way down, and the Mexican could be forced to look for a contract somewhere else beyond 2024. After all, Red Bull does have the capacity to buy out Lando's contract, but so does Mercedes, and now that the Silver Arrows have proven to be less competitive than the top teams, they could use the fresh force of Norris to bring the team exactly where it should be. Not that Hamilton is not capable of doing so, quite the contrary, but the 7-time world champion hasn't signed the new contract with Mercedes just yet, and even if he does, rumours are that he will race for 2 more seasons and then he's gone for good when it comes to F1 racing. This is exactly the time where Norris could hop in with his former F2 rival George Russell and try to bring glory back to Mercedes, but at this point, Norris would likely seek security from the team in terms of them producing a championship winning car. Because there isn't any other reason why he'd leave McLaren except the fact that they failed to build a car that is competitive. And a dark horse has emerged in the back, with Ferrari not really willing to commit long-term to Leclerc's services just yet. Now, one of the facts is that they have a new team principal, one that was definitely brought under Leclerc's command because of Leclerc's disappointment with Binotto, and that same team principal said that the contract of Leclerc beyond 2024 is now not a priority for the team. To top that off, Leclerc didn't finish the first race in Bahrain due to reliability issues and hasn't managed to be better than Sainz in Jeddah, even though he started all the way back in P12 compared to Sainz's P3 start. A very interesting period awaits ahead for Norris, and this time, the young Briton needs to be more than careful with his choices, because there are a couple of them, and even though Red Bull sounds like the best option out there due to their recent dominance, you'd think twice if you wanted to have Verstappen as your teammate. Norris definitely has the pace and the performance to challenge the Dutchman, but this could be done by any other team in the following period, and Norris could very well be part of the big picture for Mercedes or Ferrari. Nonetheless, McLaren are yet to prove to Norris and the F1 world that they can win races sooner rather than later. Otherwise, they're about to face tectonic shakeups in the following period. So, what do you think about Norris joining Red Bull in the near future? Let us know in the comments down below.